The back, I guess, after that, how long was it between that and Buckaroo Banzai, which was like your big? That was like the big on your map, right?
Between, you mean?
Between the when you were directing. When did you
I started directing in 1995.
Okay.
I started directing thanks to Robert Redford, who invited me to the Sundances in the early 90s, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Redford is a great guy. I owe him a lot. And he was the first guy that supported me directing.
When, you said you worked with Richard Lester, you worked with a number of different directors.
Great directors. I've been very, very fortunate working with great directors. I did stage with some of the great directors. I did one of the great plays, won Pulitzer Streamers with Mike Nichols. Mike Nichols is formidable comic and director. Do you know his films at all? You know, he's from Catch-22, The Graduate, a stunning stage director, film director, and a past master at assessing the human condition. I mean, Mike Nichols is one of those guys who can walk into a bar, look at two people, and you see exactly what those two people want from each other. You know, other than getting laid. But you know, that's his thing. So, work with him, Sidney Lumet, the great Sidney Lumet, Richard Lester, Woody Allen, who's been a friend for a long time, even before we worked together, and Cronenberg, and Verhoeven, yeah, and Paul Verhoeven, the great Paul Verhoeven. And these guys are really sympathetic to actors. You know, there's a Robert Duvall saying that if a director, Robert Duvall's an irascible guy, possibly more irascible than me, but a gifted guy. And he said to me once, you know, as a young actor, and I'd seen him in American Buffalo, a David Mamet play on Broadway. And and a friend of mine, and also a mentor, is Al Pacino, who sort of mentored me into the Actors Studio, and he did that, and then Dustin did it in the movie, but the original production with Robert Duvall on Broadway, you felt like Robert Duvall was going to leap off the stage and kill someone in the audience. That's how volatile this performance was. I mean, he broke toys, he broke little wind-up things and smashed them with his hand. It was absolutely one of the most livid and vibrant, exhilarating performances I've ever seen, maybe the most. But backstage he said, you know, if a director's not listening to me, he's not taking my cue or my input, he's only using a third of an actor. And there are a lot of directors who they don't want to work with the Robert Duvalls of the world because they're shooters, essentially. And we live in a day and age of entertainment. Listen, this is not to denigrate because it's been very good to me, and some people who are about to hire me, you know, do this. But John Frankenheimer, the late great John Frankenheimer, said that movies have become homogenized and that they are now made by shooters. They have taken the technique of Spielberg and left the soul behind and essentially shoot a lot of beautiful images that string together in a story that basically you forget once you've gone out of the thing, and you remember the whiz-bang of the images, but it's very hard for these people to make a scene between these two women right here happen in a room. The director can do that, Kazan or Nichols or Lumet or one of those guys who come from excoriating the problems of humankind. That's a different thing. And when Duvall said that, man, I understand now what he was talking about, because all of a sudden you say, listen, I think I ought to like slap this guy here. And I was working with a guy in South Africa, a director who's a shooter. He was a commercial guy, and he's a really beautiful shooter. And I said, you know, we got to pump up the volume here, man. This guy's got to come at me. And the other actor said, yeah. And I said, he's got to come at me, and I think maybe, he said, what do you do? I said, I don't know, I slap him or shove him or push him out the door or something. And he said, well, why would you do that? And we both looked at each other, like me and the actor, a guy, brilliant guy from Johannesburg, said, because this is the part of the story where shit is really happening. And if it's another conversation, it's just another conversation. But the director did not get that. He did not get the arc of this story, such as that. It's like a concerto by Beethoven, you know? There's this fast, furious third movement. Aristotle said it in 485 BCE. The second act of every drama, and no one's ever improved on it, by the way, has to be the protagonist in a pitched battle with an obstacle that's going to kill him. A pitched battle. Just remember that when you're wondering, what's wrong with this movie and why isn't it jumping? That's because the protagonist is not about to die, getting what he wants. And by the way, that's true for Neil Simon, or Sex and the City, or any comedy. You know, somebody feels that they're going to die if they don't get what they want. And sometimes you got to tell a director that if they don't get it, you got to kind of. Now I'm more pleasant about it. I just kind of con them into seeing my way. You know, when I was a younger man, I used to go, "What? No, I'm not that guy any longer. My wife has made me better."